Good afternoon, lovely people out there. We are very happy that after trying for a long time, we have the pleasure to speak to Hannes Maritz today from Kraak Weddings and Events Coordination. Thank you so much, Hannes, for being here with us on our piece of the puzzle with these exclusive flowers. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Before we maybe jump right into the current situation, and also I have one particular question regarding the style of weddings that you're doing, because I think that is some sort of a very particular signature that you have that really makes you stand out from a lot of other creatives. I actually want to ask you, like, how did you get into like events or designing events? So what was your path, like your history? I mean, right now we all like look like how did we get where we are right now, and maybe where do we go from here? So how did the journey start for you?
So I actually wanted to go into, and I didn't plan on going into events. So I ended up in the end at university being like on a board that, and an organization that does events. So I did it for extra money. And then I started actually to realize that I love entertaining. So I'm actually a musician. So I love making music. So, and I always knew that it will be like in entertainment, like in performance or whatever. But then I started to love the behind the scenes so much more than I like being on the stage, for example. And so I like tested the waters a little bit, and I sent I know exactly, it was 24 emails that I sent from Bloemfontein to check in Cape Town, because I knew I wanted to come to Cape Town. And I sent out 24 emails telling people that I will come and work for free for them if you will just have me. I just want to make sure this is what I want to do, and I really have a passion. And only one person actually responded. And that was Kleine Wedding and Conference Estate here in Wellington. And still till today, well, that was my first boss, and still we are very good friends up till today. And she owns a company now called Goeters. And and then I came there and I started doing their venue management for them. And then I got bored with only that, and I started touching a little bit more on coordination, got involved in designing weddings. And then from there, I went to another event coordinating company. I was there for about 9 to 10 months. Then I was bored again because I just felt there's something that needs to be done. And then we thought of something that we want to do our own thing, but we don't want it to be just a coordination company. We really want it to be creative with a signature. And that is when Kraak was born. And the name Kraak, actually, just, I know that's also a big question from a lot of people, like, where does the name Kraak comes from? So it is actually, when I started out at Kleine, me and my colleague then had discussions about one day when we have our own company, what will we call it? And we didn't know what, because we didn't want to call it something unique or, some like saying directly what it is. And then I was laying on the lawn and I was looking at the cottage where I was staying at that stage. And there was this big crack in the wall. And I just thought, you will never ever get a crack in life that looks the same if it's being done naturally. So, and then we're very deep, like it was very deep. We had a glass of wine, definitely. And then so that is where the name came from. Like, it's something original, and it comes from inspiration or from impact from a certain direction. So in the end, we called the company Kraak, and we started out doing events that we use seasonal items. And it wasn't because I liked it so much. It was because I started out and I didn't have big budget clients. So if they wanted this incredible thing, I need to kind of fake it till I make it and tell them, yes, it will work. I didn't make money for a whole year. Whenever money came in, I didn't know what to do with budgets. So I literally said, this is what it will cost. And then I just have to make it happen for that money. So, and now where it's grown is where we started out using textures and branches and twigs and all of that and natural elements due to budget. now it's becoming something that people actually want, and we can now actually
like a signature.
specialize in doing something like that and combining it with natural flowers. So yeah, so that is how it ended up and how we became where we are today.
Okay. That is such an incredible story. I mean, like,
That's
the good thing on this chats is that we know sometimes people, but we do not really know about their story. We do not know about like their history, and we see them like, or we meet them at a certain level, but we don't know what was in the back. And this is it's very interesting. And I mean, I'm a very curious person. I'm always asking people like questions maybe that Alfie said you can't ask this.
Yes.
I said so, but now I have actually the permission officially to ask people like in this flat room. But that is very, very interesting, like as a creative, and we hear this very often, that creatives don't think so much at the begin about money, but they think about how to make it work to bring this project alive. I think this is at one point very good and interesting, but at another point also quite dangerous. Maybe tell us a little bit how that changed your perspective on the events that you create when you had actually budgets available, like when the client actually said, okay, this is my budget, and how that changed things, or did that change?
So it was actually very funny the first few times when I sat with a client, when people started to really want this product and the style of what we're doing. The first conversation I had with a family, that basically I spoke to the mom, and she told me, I asked her, well, what is the budget? And then the budget was so high that I couldn't really keep a straight face, because I was immediately thinking, what on earth am I going to do with all of this money? I really don't know what to do with it. And then with reference of the previous company that I worked, I know like the millions that can be spent on a wedding. And by that stage, I've never touched $1 million on a wedding. And I was like, I really do not know what to put on this budget to get it to $1 million, because if I go too low, then they will think I don't know what I'm talking about. So then I started immediately. I tried to keep a straight face, and I still have a very good relationship with that first couple who went with that high budget. And they said that they could see in my face, not really knowing what I was thinking, but they still was shocked. And they, from their side, didn't know if I was shocked, because I thought maybe it was too little. But I actually, the whole time they thought I laughed at their budget, but I was just thinking, I didn't know what to do. But anyway, so in the end, it allowed me, like how it changed my ballgame. I realized that finally there's new horizons that opens up, and quality items that can be, not necessarily now that there's money I can waste it. It's just the quality could actually increase. I don't have to budge on a glass. I don't have to budge on the napkin and go for polyester. I could do linen, and then we could just understand more of the directions that there is. I could understand it more. So, and coming like the path that I had, that I just explained to you, coming from that background, still up till today, a lot of people will think that some of our weddings are extremely expensive, and when I share the budget with them, they can't believe that that is what it happened for, like we made it happen for that. So it did open my eyes in terms of quality, but still the way of thinking creatively, it didn't change, because our biggest, like we love it the most still if someone actually like challenges us and say, well, this is what I have, what can you do? That it just triggers something within you. And like, you will also know that if you have no limits and no lines to work in, for a creative, that is like very dangerous, because
there's too much of like possibilities.
Absolutely.
And also what I'm always also saying is like, everyone can do something with a big budget, but the real art is to make something really spectacular with the limitation in a budget. I mean, not everyone can do that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Our most popular weddings, and that we see on social media, the most likes and the most conversation that we get, the weddings that's on there is the weddings that we literally were like, oh my gosh, we cannot actually only do 8 waiters. It needs to be 12, but oh, what the hell? We're rather going to go get that something else. And we really made it work. Those weddings in the end, and especially what we see is when clients actually talk about a certain budget that they want to spend, they then trust us they say, okay, we know what you can do. And the trust, when the trust is there, then that is what actually makes the wedding absolutely spectacular. And then it was like our cheapest wedding of the year. But just because the trust was there, because of the road that we've walked up till now, working with smaller budgets, it's just, the end product is so much better.
Yeah, I think you are right. The most spectacular mustn't be always the most expensive.
Yes. No, and it never is. I mean, the most expensive, it is like, it's just a matter of taste and add-ons and things. But in the end, the fine line of the creativity and the experience of the event is still the same if it's a very expensive wedding or a small one. It's just how you approach it in the end.
Exactly.
Yes. Can I ask you, maybe now moving a little bit like into the current situation? I have heard you speak at the Wedding Vendor Awards last year in September, where obviously every one of us didn't know what to expect for 2020, and we all had like amazing ideas how 2020 would look like for everyone in the wedding industry, because it's a beautiful date. We knew that a lot of couples booked us for the season, and you were talking about trends. Trends like what to expect for 2020. And I know you are very big on textures and on like quality linen and quality fabric. Now, maybe looking at like the situation that we are all in, and maybe also planning ahead, like I guess, like as every one of us, like most of the weddings also that you had in the books for this year were postponed towards next year. Maybe you can just elaborate a little bit on that. But do you see, like from the way how you as Kraak are crafting weddings, like any particular change in the way how you go about designs, and maybe how, when you look at last year, what you said the trend for 2020 is going to be for you, how it is going to like move over to 2021, or do you see something completely different happening? So what is your take on it?
So it was actually so interesting that way before COVID and all the stuff that's happened, there was already an indication that the industry is changing. And it is so interesting to see that what I said about trends then is even more applicable now. Like, the people don't want to be frivolous now. There's people without jobs, there's people without food. Like, all the weddings that we've booked that we had to postpone for next year was before COVID. Already the conversation was there about, we just don't want it to be frivolous. We don't want it to be like a show. We really just want like a table with the most beautiful, creative, curated items on it. So it was amazing to see, and I mean, no one wanted COVID to change the industry that way, because it was actually already changing towards what it is now, but just not with a bang like COVID. But it was already there. People started to, when we have a consultation, they would also always mention the words considered and not frivolous and intimate and quality. That was the words that we worked with. And the big shows that we've done in the past, and a lot of people have done, and that's nothing wrong with. I mean, it's spectacular. It's art on different levels. People just said that we wanted to be smaller and more intimate, and all the weddings that we booked was for smaller groups. Most of it was for under 100 guests, and so how I don't see it actually changing. I see COVID as part of the process of how the industry actually evolved. I mean, unfortunately, there's a lot of suppliers that we're going to lose, and we've already lost. I mean, this week alone, I've heard about 3 suppliers who closed their doors completely. And it's so sad, because they were actually with us from the start when we were the new company. So it's very sad, all of that, but the influence, it's kind of an affirmation and a confirmation that the direction that we were heading into, we are still heading there. It is going to become more about quality, intimacy. People are going to look at the guest list a little bit more different. And instead of inviting the nephew and niece that you have to invite because they're family,
Yes.
you're really going to consider, like, I only have this many people that I can invite.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's like, yeah, it's still going to be exactly, my thoughts are that it's going to stay exactly like that. It's just going to have even more focus on the quality and the curation and consistency. Yes.
I think, I mean, I personally also, we think the same. But I wanted to hear it because I found it very interesting now when I was actually like thinking back. I was like, okay, you actually like said that was the trend for this year, and I also think is going into 2021. Maybe a bit more under pressure because of the situation that we are in.
I think the situation changed also the perspective of the people.
Yes.
Because like always, like we coming from Europe, we have had rarely weddings above 100 people, honestly. When I came 20 years back here and I heard about like 300, 400, 500, I said, oh my God, what are they doing? Even in the UAE or in Arab, like 1,000 and even more people.
It's a production. I always call it a production. It's not a wedding in the sense that, you know, because for me, even personally, like if I look at myself personally, of course, I can do 300, 400 guest weddings, but I personally enjoy the smaller, intimate weddings much more because I see how people can interact and just like share this moment with each other that they are in. Because I mean, it's obvious if you have 200 plus people on your wedding, you as a couple even can't like greet everyone. You can't share like even a minute with everyone because then it's like 3-4 hours past, you know? So like I also think personally for design, you can package much more detail in a wedding that has like less guest numbers then I mean obviously like depending on the
and
the
also
budget.
more quality, like as you say before. I mean, you can take like higher quality products, linens, whatsoever. You can spend more on the food or whatever for the same budget. I mean, as you said, and this what we always said, you had something what you really said to most of our couples, who they should actually only invite.
Well, I always say, you know, like don't invite people that you wouldn't miss. Like on your, or like when you think about them, you know, like you say, like third grade cousin or something like this. This is like for me, but I know it's always a very personal discussion, and it's a big discussion in the family about the number of guests. But I always say just invite the people who you would really miss, and you would really be sad if they wouldn't be there, to just make sure that you have the right people on board for your wedding day. Coming back to your style, because I really just want to like maybe like check that people checking out your Instagram, because I like your style because it has a certain signature. It has always very muted tones. It's very earthy. It's very natural. How would you describe like to someone what is the style of weddings that like Kraak Events is doing, or are you even open to do something else? But when you look at your feed, it's like quite, I don't want to say similar, but it's very consistent in the way how you're presenting the events and the weddings.
Yeah, so our style is basically, and it's so interesting that we never decided that this is the style we want. It kind of just happened because it's something that we grew to love and that we really enjoy. Like a lot of our couples will be able to vouch for this and say that a lot of them don't know what their wedding is going to look like. We don't do a wedding mock most of the times. And I've had a discussion.
Thank you. I can just say thank you so much. Oh, this is really amazing that you say this, because I am just ignoring this, honestly saying, or I neglecting it, or what is it actually the right word? I never done it, and even I will not do it. And it is always a very big discussion not to do it, because I say this is like when you ask a designer to make you a paper dress before. Nobody would ask a designer to make a paper dress before they
Yes.
create your real dress. This
Yes.
is not going to work. Thank you.
No, a mock for us, and I think, and that leads right into the fact that the weddings that we do, we attract a certain type of person, and that is what they want. And they are people who like the consistency of what we do, so they do trust us that whatever we're going to do, it's going to be amazing, and we will always try and add something to it, that there's a consistent line within it, but it will never look the same as the previous one. Never exactly the same, but always consistent with a certain approach that we have. So, so the concepts that we do, how it end up being what it is and being consistent, is the consistent type of client that we have. We never get someone who actually asks us, what type of chair do you recommend? They're just like, whatever chair you give is fine, because they understand that those are all little things from a designer's perspective that we will, of course, we are the expert. We need to tell them what's going to be good. Of course, they do have a say in, Johannes, you suggested this now, but I actually have like a connotation with this. My grandma used to have something like this, and I actually don't like it. Then, of course, we change it, but it's our job to propose them with something that they can have. And we always, like, we have about two, like an initial consultation and then a full consultation with them before we provide them with a concept. We actually do our concept quite late in the process. We start with all the admin and logistics and make sure that everything is sorted, and then through that we get to know them so much better. So then by that time we can tell them exactly what they're gonna like, and it usually works out to be perfect. So that is, I think that is how that consistency and how that style comes across. Very personal. I don't really follow a lot of trends on Instagram or so, inspiration like interior inspiration, but not really wedding inspiration, because I never want to sit in a consultation and think that I just either stole someone's concept. What that happens in the industry, and a lot of people think, yeah, but that person stole my concept. What I want to sit there, and if I think about it, it is fresh and it is original, even though someone else did it before. But I don't want to chat to the client keeping in mind that the color needs to be purple. I want to know what the color is for the client. And then if it is all complete yellow and sunflowers everywhere with hessian and lemons, then we'll just have to find a design that's going to showcase that and make it incredible. So it's always the client that determines the concept, always.
Yes. That's great, actually, and it gives evidence to two things. The one thing, that a real designer needs freedom, and the client need to give him a certain amount of freedom to create something spectacular.
It comes back to trust.
Exactly, it comes back to trust, and this is also what I say, because if somebody trusts me, they don't need a mock-up. And also, it is something that what I tell a lot of times to young floral designer, you get what you show. If you show cheap things, you get clients, they look for cheap things, or smaller, they have smaller budget. If you show more natural floral designs, you get clients, they like that. If you show very elegant styles, you get clients, they attracted to this. I mean, I'm always making very easy comparisons. If you want to buy a Ferrari, you don't go in a bicycle shop. That is exactly what happens in our industry. Sometimes people don't think about. They think they can grow into something, but you have to work on that to grow into something. And it's very important what you said, that you design quite on a late stage. Because first you have to make contact to the client, you have to get to know about them, and then when you know about them, you can make the perfect styling for them or design.
I also personally always think that if you would do a mock-up and you're just doing one table, it will never show exactly as if you have for 100 guests, the impact and the atmosphere and the candles and the flowers and like, I mean,
you take also something away from that couple, because I mean, a lot of people have not the imagination that we as creative have. I mean, I don't know how you work, but for me, it is, I can see a whole venue or a table already in my mind when I talk to people. Not everybody has this. So you cannot expect that someone can actually see a whole venue by watching a table.
Yes, no, absolutely. No, absolutely. And there's some people who can do, like, I mean, when some of our events, especially when you get those events that's basically 6 events in 2 days, if you go more to the Hindu weddings or what, then you have to get literally to a stage where you have to offer them some kind of mock, not a precise mock, but literally just sit around a table, have everything there, actually have a bunch of flowers there of the selection that's going to be used, because there's so many different events they can't actually remember which one is which one. So then it is also an art. It is actually a challenge for us to do it, but it's never a mock in the sense of this is what it looks like, the boxes are ticked, and this is what your wedding is going to look like. They just have more information and they can see, because some people are visual, like you say, some people are not. So when we get to know the client and we know they are not that visual, and they actually, you can see they are stressing because they don't have concrete answers, then we always suggest that we rather do something like, let's get together, let's walk. We never take them and walk around in a hiring warehouse or whatever, but we'll always bring a few items and show them the quality, because once they see it, they feel better. Even if you feel the shape to grab and pick up the napkin and the cutlery and the crockery, for us, it is such a normal thing to visualize, but sometimes you just have to give them that. And we find that if we give them that, they trust more on the concept, because they know your quality of the basic elements are already in place.
Kind of a mood board sometimes also helps.
Always. Like that is like to take their visuals that they have, put it on a concept board, and then, so first acknowledge what they like, especially from a designer's perspective. We never want people to think that we want to enforce a concept on
your
them.
style.
So we do acknowledge all their photos, and we love the inspiration, and we always have an amazing relationship with them to tell them that we're not adding that picture, it's definitely not going to work, but luckily the other 10 pictures did work, and then we add pictures to say, but to get that look, it's not necessarily about the chair, it's actually more about the carpet that's under the chair. So if we do it, and then we show them, I think that's what they appreciate. They just don't want to be left out in the process, because we are the designers of the wedding. They don't want to be left out. They want to be acknowledged.
Yes, no, of course. And I mean, it's their wedding, you know, and I mean, they hire people like you and many others to just like make their dreams come true, not make your dreams come true as a wedding planner or as a designer.
Yes.
Can I ask you, you have launched, I think, something that is quite interesting. Some people nowadays call it like you pivoted, like, and you maybe were thinking a little bit outside of the box of like what is possible now.
But even inside in the box.
Yeah, but that was my point. So to think a bit outside of the box, but you created a concept that is inside of the box. Tell us a little bit, like, obviously, like everyone right now in the industry, and particularly here in South Africa, in stage 3 out of 5 lockdown, where it's quite uncertain for us to do weddings at what stage, but we may have the possibilities to do like home celebrations or things. Like, how did you come up with the concept, and like, what is your current, maybe say, status quo, like, and how do you as Kraak Weddings and Events like want to move on from here, or can move on from here?
So the crate, the Kraak that you're referring to is so it actually started, I think, about 3 years ago, when I started having this vision and dream about doing something like that, because I feel that because we started out with such intimate small events way back with, like I said, with the textures, and we had to use a lot of candles because we didn't have money for flowers. I always still love that, and it's part, like, it's our heart, if I can call it that. It's like really close to our heart. So we thought, like, we really enjoy our projects that we're working at the moment, and we love it, but there's this little we don't want to let it just go by the smaller intimate things that we get. So we thought of how we can bring quality and hospitality to someone at home, because we love, you'll also see that most of our weddings we do, it's either home weddings or weddings in a tent on a private property somewhere. And of course there's a lot of venue weddings as well, but most of them are at private residences. So what we love about that is like the influence that you get from what is in the house. So with venues, you always know a blank canvas, this is what the venue look like. But when you go to someone's property, suddenly it's all these new elements that open up and you can do something completely different. So
and it has character already.
It already has character, and there's so many elements. We love it when the mom says you can take whatever you want in the house and carry it out on the lawn. If she says that, we're like, we need that in writing actually, because you're not going to have a
take the house upside down.
Everything. So that is basically where the whole Kraak thing started, and we thought about it a lot, and then we made notes about it, but we didn't really have time for it. And it's also it's not something that will make you rich, because it is not very profitable, but it is something that adds to the brand value of what we believe what an event should be. And we had a lot of like before COVID, the last discussion that I had with another florist in the industry was about the fact that we've lost perspective in the industry. We have been neglecting the actual part of a wedding, which is the couple, but also the hospitality, the actual service and the hospitality experience that you have. We went so visual that, and we were guilty of that we went so visual that a lot of times you neglected that very fine touch that you have and the details with the actual service and how you make the people feel, and not only what they see. And so we thought it will be amazing to just, again, make it more intimate. And then when COVID happened, then everyone was doing boxes and delivering, like especially the caterers, and everyone's doing boxes. And then I just thought, oh my gosh, I can't put an event in a box. And then I realized, but I can actually finally put an event in a box. Yes. So, and that is when we thought, okay, but what will the pillars be for this? Because it's easy to just do a party box and inside there's a lot of party elements, but what do we want to focus on? So when Kraak started out, there was these 4 words that was under our logo. We took it away because it's very Afrikaans, so I'll explain it to you now, which is Krat, Kers, Kuier and Kos, which is a crate, and then a candle, and then like Kuier, which is a gathering and a party, and then the food. And that is the 4 basic items that you need to be able to host something. And then we decided, but you can put all of that can actually go into this crate. So you can put everything in there, and to keep it small and intimate, and again, being a creative, you have to have your limits. Everything needs to fit into that box. So of course, here and there, we break our own rule, because we just find so like many beautiful foliage, and then we do a bigger installation and not only little twigs on the table, and then we just put it separately, not inside the crate. So we do break our rule there a little bit, but it's just, if it's so beautiful, it's not like fresh flowers that we put in there. It's always seasonal stuff that we work with, that we get next to the road or on a farm. So that is where this whole project started, and it grew into, when people started inquiring about this, it actually became more clear. Like in the beginning where it started, it's already evolved. Like like people, they're attracted to the fact that they also don't know what's inside the box, inside the crate.
And it's like Christmas and Easter together.
Yeah, so that is how we approach our concepts if we do a big event as well. So in this case, we are not limited to getting like cutlery, crockery, glassware, those items. We're not limited to hiring it in the industry. We can now go, because the crate is for up to 20 people before it turns into a big coordinated event. So we can actually source and buy elements here and there, keep it in stock and share it with everyone, things that we feel there's a lot of value and we love it, but there's not necessarily 100 of them available. So it's a very exclusive item actually, but it's not unaffordable, and we have now recently partnered with a caterer who's going to, because we in the beginning did not include food, but we're now going to, because people also started to get this food in a box thing so much more. And now the guy who this Passon, he has quite a lot of restaurants here in Cape Town, and he is now going to do all the food, and it's all this hearty but still very specialized menus that he's doing, and it's amazing. It feels like you're doing fine dining, but not little food, beautiful food, but it's a little bit more special than you would have done yourself. And it's all, you can just put it in the oven, heat it up, and then you have this feast at your house. So that is how we approach this time, and we do this. So we go, we set the table, and then we say goodbye. But inside is a note that we call the instruction manual, basically, and it says exactly what you must do, how long the food must be in the oven, all of that. And we also put the music on, so we create the whole ambiance. But because we are to host events now, we then leave, and they have the event on their own, and the next day we just go do the breakdown.
But then there is something what I read, what actually, and that triggered really my interest. And that's why I actually contacted you, because I found it, I said it to Alfie, I was reading in the bed, and I said, I must actually get him on the chat. There's something that is not just what you described. There's something special. When you take back the box, tell us what then you require or you request from the guest.
Oh yeah. So when you so when you're done with the box, then you need to put something in there from whatever. There's no rules of what you can or what you cannot put in there. It's literally you need to put something, and that will stay in the box for the next person who receives the box. So that is also because we can't really communicate with everyone how we want at the moment. We can't have conversations with everyone unless it's on it's a digital conversation. So to have that form of contact, and I mean, even if it's an old recipe that you want to put in there, if it's an old little vase you want to put in there, really doesn't matter. But that goes to the next person, and so and then that basically builds up, and from one person to the other.
And
so
this is so unique, so special, so personal.
This is a Kraak.
Yeah, this is a Kraak. Can you hear us?
Oh, there I can hear you now again. Sorry, you froze a bit.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Maybe we had a little Kraak in the line. So Kraak, a little crack in the line. Yeah, maybe something. I was just thinking while you were talking. Maybe like you can consider. We can talk about this in any other time. We have a beautiful new range of natural dried flowers. Actually, they're called zero waste, because during COVID, a lot of flowers have been wasted. Yes. And we partnered up with a company. They actually produce those overflows of flowers as dry natural dry flowers. So amazing. The roses look really still like, or the peonies still look like natural. And something like this would maybe be a sustainable piece of art for your clients that
absolutely
keep for the future.
Yes, no, we must definitely chat about it. Definitely, it will be amazing.
Yes.
I was just thinking about that right now.
We call it like that. We give those flowers like a second life, you know. Yeah. So, and I think it's a beautiful concept as well for people to know that they're contributing also to a certain like non-waste blueprint. Because I mean, we have the problem with fresh flowers. Like everyone has the problem that what to do afterwards with those lots and lots of flowers that a lot of people are using. You know, I mean, we try to make it a point to donate them to old age homes or shelters or like things like that. But at least if you have like dried flowers, you can eat more easily, you know, like really like give them away and keep them as a memory.
Yes. And it's also a very special new style, actually, that you can create
nicely, into your style.
No, it's amazing. It's an amazing initiative. I actually saw it on your feed. It's really incredible.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, we try to be a bit creative as well.
Yes, we also sometimes try
You're
to
very
think outside the
creative.
box a bit. Tell us, like, I mean, now that, and I mean, that is now maybe a really raw and real conversation that I'm trying to get into. Now that you say that you have your weddings for 2021 in the book still, I mean, like, I think as almost everyone, they have been postponed. You are trying to do those small home celebrations. How is Hannes feeling right now? I mean, with knowing that there is a lot of financial pressure, that there's a lot of things that have not panned out the way we have all planned for us. How do you like see the future, like for yourself? Like, how do you keep going? Like, what motivates you right now?
So at the moment, like, I mean, we had such a fast pace life before COVID. It was like and I refer immediately back to my family, my wife and my two children, like how it was. I left the house the morning, like at 7 o'clock. Sometimes they were not awake when I left the kids, and then I'll see them at 6 o'clock. Maybe sometimes when I have an event, I see them 2 days later, because whenever I come in, they're sleeping. When I go out, they're sleeping. So what's keeping me and what's making me appreciate life at the moment is the quality time that I can spend with them at the moment, and how I reconsider when I get into the car, like, okay, but I'm driving for one meeting. Let me rather get a full day filled with meetings, so that tomorrow I can again work from home and I can see them when they wake up and I can put them to bed. So that's what's keeping me going at the moment, is that. And then of course all the creativity that basically builds up, and it's all there. That's why we had to get some kind of outlet as well. But it is very true with all the romantic side of things, where we are enjoying the family time. Of course there is the financial implication of a lot of events that had to happen. We had a cash flow planned because there were certain events going to happen, balances were going to be paid, weddings needed to happen, and that is just literally not there. Luckily, what we usually do is we always plan for June and July and kind of half of August to not be operational, really. Sometimes if we do get an event then, but it's kind of, I think people also see that we're not really very active during June and July. So we did make made provision to not actually have a lot of income in June, July, and mid-August. But having said that, it was also based on the fact that we would have still had a lot of weddings in March, April, and May. So there's a certain type of provision that could be made, but there is definitely financial stress. Luckily, we kept our company quite small. Like I only have 2 people working with me. So it's literally, yeah, it is stressful, but I try not to think about it a lot. I think as a creative, it also, you shouldn't think about it too lot, like a lot. It's, yeah, so I'm feeling actually very positive at the moment still. I might be in denial, and I might still be, not naive and not really seeing things as it is. But at the moment, I'm still very positive. I've never hit bottom where it's like, oh my, like what that is going to happen.
But you don't have to feel bad about that. Maybe this is exactly what keeps you going. Not to think about too much about things, and that's why you can keep going. You know, I mean, everyone deals differently. You know, some people need the hard reality to sink in, and others they just move on and say, let's see what's going to happen. You know, like, I mean, like somehow I also have a little bit thinking like you, because I cannot change the situation. I have no influence on what's going to happen. I just have to take it as it is, day by day,
and make the best out
of it. You know, today the best is you to talk to. I mean, like, this is the best of the day. I can just definitely tell you.
Wonderful.
Yes, going on. I mean, yeah, we I mean, it's not all just polished and sugar coated here.
Yeah,
but can I ask you, in the moment like this, are you going back to music? Like, is this something like are you going back like where you were actually coming from? And is this something that maybe also lights up your heart a little bit? Or do you say, No.
Well, actually, I always made a joke and said that if the industry is not going to work for me anymore, or if I become a has-been, then I'm just going to go back and play piano at weddings. I'll play piano there, and I'll sing, and I'll just do that. And now that is not my back door anymore, because that also cannot happen. so. So I will definitely music through all that's happened up till now, and the whole path that we've walked up till now. Music became something that is personal and that I don't share with other people, but it still gives me an outlet for emotions and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
So I will definitely not go back into music, but what I find is with the weddings, the entertainment part and the music part, it's becoming also like more important, along with the quality of the cutlery, the crockery, and the glassware. Entertainment, and because how you make the guests feel, is becoming so important, and that is for me amazing to work on incredible entertainment for the events that we have planned for next year. So it's something that's close to my heart. So I enjoy that part, knowing a little bit more about music, to be involved and really see all these different artists, and be having the privilege to work with such incredible artists, which I would never have even known if I didn't have that passion for the music. So I won't go back personally, but I will introduce it more in the events, I think, because it's kind of outlet, and a lot of people feel like music is a religion. So it's incredible to be able to give more input than the normal person.
Yes, and I think particularly also the style of events that you are doing, and I mean, I generally feel that for actually every event, but when I see this also, it's much about like touching all senses, you know? So it's not only about like what you see, as you said, but it's what you smell, what you hear.
Yeah.
Like, and there is a certain memory, like if you I hope always, like also when people are leaving our events, like when they go home, or when they hear a certain song, or when they smell a certain rose, or when they whatever, like when something comes along, there is a certain memory that takes them back and like really give them a warm fuzzy feeling, because they're like reminded of how beautiful a certain event or wedding was. And obviously music, I mean, is a big
part,
communicator as well.
I have another question, which goes a little bit into like a very, like also a very interesting question in our industry, which is cooperation. You have been shown that one can be very successful to cooperate with a team that you are using frequently for weddings, no matter if it's like for flowers, for music, for technical stuff. So you are working repeatedly with a team of other vendors very successfully. And very often we hear in our industry, and I think quite honestly saying this, Cape Town is very much known for a certain type that people say it's very cliquey. But also a lot of people are scared to work together with other vendors in the same like industry very closely as a team, like a family, because they are scared that people can take away something from them. I mean, I just can't explain it like how I get to express it from the people. What is your experience on that? I mean, we have a very clear like idea of cooperation. We are very big fans of that, and that's why we see like with a lot of like joy when people work successfully
and when they succeed, you know. I mean, this is a lot of people also ask us like, how can you speak to competitors now, you know? I mean, this is not the point. No, this is not our idea,
because we do not have competitors. I mean, like we are all colleagues. That's exactly what it is, because I have no one that I would call a competitor, not because he cannot compete with me. I'm not that noisy, but I would say we are all colleagues in our industry. We are all like at the same like like communication
well,
level.
we just do different things,
Yeah.
you know, and I think that is the way how we see it. But how do you see it?
So in the beginning, when it started out, it was kind of my mission to always try and work with someone else. Like it was literally like I wanted to get as many people as possible because I wanted to get to know everyone. And the amazing thing about cooperation and like collaborations with people is that you can collaborate with everyone, but you find your people and you know what you have in certain people. And it's just a thing, it's not something that's right, it's not something that's wrong. Someone is not better than another person. It's just, you know, that you find your person and you know that that person, especially being a creative, someone that can execute exactly what's in your mind. Someone who you can say, I visualize this, this, and this, and this. How do you think it will happen? And when you look in to that person's eye, you just know they know exactly, and you don't have to worry. So I think that's incredible. So usually with technical stuff and with very design stuff, that is we just, it's also like we're not set on, oh, we only use this person, but it just always goes into the direction. And the client that contacts us said, I've looked at florists and I like this florist, and it's like, oh well, great, we wouldn't recommend anyone else for this job. But we'll also be very, very, to protect our supplier and our client, we'll be very honest to say, we know that you've been following this person and you love that style, but that's actually not your person. Like having gotten to know you the last 5 or 6 months during the process, this is not your person. This is your person. And we can promise you that person will pull it off. So, and in that way, we protect our supplier, because if it's not the supplier's person, then that supplier is also going to have not a good time, and they're not going to be there all. So you just get to know, and I think that is something that you also, it's very difficult to read that, but we feel that we did get that skill, our suppliers. And we love always when the client comes to us and say, but they have this photographer or that videographer or this, and maybe that person can do the bouquet, and but your florist can do this. We love that. We always welcome new suppliers, but because it's also, in the end, if you look at the brand that you're going to have, you need to have control over what you promise your client. So if we, I mean, as a coordinator, you will know that you need to be able to promise them success for their event, and it's going to be amazing. And if I have to work with someone just because I feel guilty that I've never worked with that person before, I cannot promise my client what they've seen on the images before. So I feel very strong about collaboration and about that, and about working together. I just feel some people, you feel connected to certain people, and it's not because someone is better than the other one. It's just you find your people, you find your person.
You have a match sometimes also, that you think like you know these people already. They have the same thinking, they have the same ideas, like and
you become friends.
You become
over
friends,
time,
yeah.
This is like a family, like an extended family that you work with.
And it comes again back to this, what you said before with the client. It comes to trust, because if you trust a vendor, nothing can go wrong, because you trust them and you know they are not disappointing you, and you don't even have to explain how many hours, what need to be done. They exactly know what you're expecting.
No, absolutely.
Nonetheless, the main idea, I think, like that we all take at heart as planners is, we don't need to look for what is best for us in terms of how convenient it is maybe to find like a quick solution for a certain problem, or to find a style or something. It is always at our heart to find the best solution for the couple, and whatever needs to be done for that couple, and whoever needs to be flown in, whatever needs to be made, whatever needs to be like arranged. This is just what's necessary. Can I ask you maybe a final question at this point? During the whole process of planning, what is your most favorite part of the whole wedding planning process, like up until the wedding day?
So the most exciting part is usually when we do the site visit. That's our absolute favorite part, to do the site visit and to listen to what like we usually know if it's a venue, we know the space, but when we get into this new properties that we've never seen before, and all these possibilities just opens up. So we get so excited like little children, like when we go into a property and we drive in and we're like, oh my gosh, that's going to be a chandelier. Oh, and there's going to be that. And we suddenly have this new canvas to work with. So usually that is a very exciting part. And to immediately after that, while it's so fresh, go and sit and conceptualize that and talk about it in the car on the way from there about, okay, what are we going to do? How is this going to work? And where will the band be? And oh my goodness, there was a pool. We can do this in the pool. I mean, then reality later hits when we need to fit all of those ideas into a budget.
Yes.
But that is the most exciting part for us. And then to finish it off, the other exciting part is when we get together after all the planning, say for the tasting, and we sit and we actually, when we do our tastings with our clients, we don't sit and really make a lot of notes. We of course do, we have to, but we also, like, all three of us join, we have a glass of wine with them, we talk about everything, and without them knowing it, we're making the notes. So that is kind of the final wrap up for everything, to finalize the menu. And it's such an incredible bonding time that we have with them, because they usually bring their family. And so those two, the site inspection and the tasting experience, is always absolutely incredible. That's the highlight.
That's amazing.
Okay, I have not expected that actually, but it's very interesting to hear that. Yeah. Can I also have a final question?
Please.
So yeah. So like, when you think like, okay, we go back to a certain type of normality, right? Like, just like keep
we
this.
Hope.
Yeah, we all hope that.
Soon.
What is it? What you have in mind to say? If I could do something like that would incredible. I mean, like, we spoke to Sarah Haywood the other day. She wanted to do a wedding in the space. You know, I mean, that's quite high up. You know, but let's say high up. Yeah, but there's maybe some more like normal incredible like ideas than the space.
What would really challenge you? Maybe like, let's put it
Yeah,
that
or
way. Like,
something
what
like
would
that.
really challenge you as a planner?
Well, for me, yeah, if we go back now, the limitations, I think, with things, you only miss something when it's taken away from you. And the thing that I've missed the most, that has been taken away from us, unfortunately, is travel. And oh, there you are. Sorry, you disappeared quickly. Are you back?
Can you hear us?
Sorry, yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, there you are. No, it's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so there was a lot of things taken away from us. And the one thing that bothers me the most, that I miss the most, is travel. So when we go back into a new type of normal now, I would really like to venture more into the smaller intimate weddings that's being done in different countries, I mean, we've never really opened ourselves up to going and doing smaller events in Italy, in Namibia even, or wherever, like the smaller things that you actually, now we know our environments here. We know the Northern Cape, Western Cape, Eastern Cape, we know what it looks like, we know the vibe, we know the feel, but to actually go to a place out of our comfort zone, not so prepared with a big team behind us, but actually arrive there and we've arranged everything, but we then also let something happen with whatever is available. Going and getting the sporting things. I think that challenge is something that we would love to focus on more when everything goes back. When we're allowed to travel again, to be able to have a package to say, well, we will come and we'll actually at your house then in Portugal, we'll go and we'll do kind of a crate event for you there, like something that's really seasonal. We source seasonal elements, we source things from the surroundings. That is something that we would love to focus on and do. So I won't go for the wedding on the moon. I would rather just go and be able to experience different places, different countries, experience it in a way, because usually when we travel, you experience it, but you never experience it in detail by actually doing things like sourcing things and getting to know the locals around there. It's usually very touristy. So that is something that we would definitely grab with both hands once that border opens up.
Okay, beautiful.
That sounds wonderful. Wish you good luck for that.
No, thank you so much. Thank you.
It was actually a great pleasure having you on our chat, and I would say I learned a lot. It was very interesting. I got to know a little bit more Hannes Maritz, and I'm very glad, because this is also a part in our industry. And you said it right before we started the chat, that under normal circumstances you would have no time to talk like for an hour with someone like us. But that's also a part of the problem in our industry. We know about each other, but we do not know enough another.
Yes.
I would say, like, this is something that I take out of this conversations all the time, that I also in the future, I would try to reach out more to people, even though when I think, like, even in the past, I would have even not tried to contact you, because I would have thought there's no chance to get him on the phone, you know, like,
it was.
Yeah,
sorry.
But I think this is something what brings us closer to each other, to get to know each other. And I think this is what we need, and to understand the other people's story and to understand them, because when we have the feeling we know each other, we also work together with each other.
Definitely. This is how you find your people. This is, and we've neglected it for so long. And that is something I wanted to mention earlier. It's a lot of people always ask me, and they're like, especially when I do say, I chat to a group of students or what, they'll ask me, but okay, you are where you are now, but how do we get there? If you're not open to working with new people, how are we ever going to get in there? Everyone can't do their own thing. Like, how will we become your person? And everyone was guilty that you get an email from someone leaving school, contacting you, someone from another country moving, say, from Joburg to Cape Town, and they try to meet with you because they just want to also connect and also see if maybe you're each other's person or people, and you always neglected that. That's something like, oh, we'll try out in winter time, we'll get to it. Okay, we'll get to it. And then it never happens. Yeah. So it is something that is absolutely incredible, and it opens our eyes again. Like, this is the networking that needs to happen, that we need to get together. We need to meet new people so that you can meet more your people.
Yeah. So you definitely, from today onwards, our people for the inside of the box, and wonderful. We hope that we are a little bit your people. Somehow,
definitely. No, definitely. Thank you so much, lady. It was absolutely incredible to talk to you. I'm very glad we did it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for your honesty also. I really appreciate it. Also, the way, like, your career path that you shared, I think it's very important also for people to understand that it's not like a thing from today to tomorrow. That is a lot of work. That is a lot of dedication. It needs a lot of passion. It needs a lot of failures. It needs a lot of time, a lot of effort to actually like reach where people see you now. So thank you very much for that.
Hannes, thank you very much.
Enjoy your evening. Okay.
Thank you. All the best.
Bye. Bye. Thank you.